Too many men out here don't feel good about themselves. And I said I was going to do that today and everything, because there's a lot of guys out here that don't feel good about themselves. And I've talked about this before, but, it was the day before Christmas. So, I said I'll do it again. Many men out here just don't feel good about themselves. I'm going to tell you what, it really causes problems on so many levels. Not just getting the punani. Not just on that level, but just on the level of just making it through life and everything. Because as I always say, your main relationship got to be with yourself. But if you don't feel good about yourself, how you going to do anything else? Because you can't wait for anybody. Yeah, everybody else can pump you up and say you feel good, say you look good and all that shit. But if you don't feel good, shit, you ain't going to do much. Like, let me use that thing that really hits a lot of guys. A lot of guys don't feel good about themselves because they don't look like Chad. Shit. Who gives a fuck? I don't give a fuck. I don't look shit like Chad. I don't need to. Chad don't look like me. That's how I look at that shit. Because I get some dudes, they try to come at me, but I feel good about how I look. If they don't like it, well, first of all, who gives a shit if a man don't like it? And even if there's a lot of women who don't like it, who gives a shit? As long as some women like it or they like something about me, that's all that matters. But let me get into that some deeper. Every man got to feel good about being his best version. That's why I talk about body game. What do I say with body game? The main thing. The main thing is your best body. Not somebody else's best body.
Hey, my emo brothers, back again. And I was just watching Ram Wills in his car. I love Ram. Ram is my favorite. He's one of my favorite characters because he's raw. And we've been talking about class. We've been talking about a man's mission and his motivation and stuff like that. Rama always talks about that. But one thing he was talking about is how a man needs to feel good about himself. You have to love who you are first. We hear women say that all the time, right? You got to love who you are, which most of them don't. But that's beside the point. But it's especially true for a man. Because a man is self-contained. One thing I can say about what Cerulean said a long time ago, men oppose the environment, women live in it. Since men oppose the environment, and men are the I, if you think about I and I in the Jamaican religion, and then the big I, which is God, and the little I, which is Adam, or man, since the man carries the essence of the spark of God, the I comes first. So what does that mean? You are a singular person first. A French feminist philosopher said that's the difference between men and women. Women have to be connected, men do not. And men see themselves as a singular entity first, and then connection comes afterward. They don't see themselves as a partner, as a group. They see themselves as a singular part inside of a group. Even a gang, okay? He's his own man inside of a gang. And he plays his role, but he's his own man. He's his own person. He's his own singular entity. Most boys are like that. Most men are like that. And the most important thing for a man is to love himself first. He has to. A man that doesn't love himself will always be a pushover, will always be a target. And the more a man loves who he is and accept him, that means accepting who he is. Man, if you aren't perfect, you 5'2", or you're not conventionally handsome, you're going to have to find something to love about yourself and accept yourself. Men have to love themselves first. And what Ram was saying is that you can't expect a woman to love you if you don't love yourself. And a lot of times what we get, when men get, when they have trouble with women, especially when they have trouble with women, is that they're looking for that woman to validate him. Black men are especially bad at that. It's because of the gynocracy. We look to prove ourselves and validate ourselves to the women, whereas other cultures really do not. Whereas not to the extent that we do. What it really comes back to is that most black men do not love themselves. They do not value themselves. Even these high-powered athletes that fly chicks out, they don't value themselves. They're cocky in the things that they can do because they've been trained over a long period of time, but they don't love themselves. Why would a NBA athlete spend a ton of money on a chick that's 10 levels below him when he could just show up at a bar and get it for free? Show up at a club and get it for free. Walk down the street and get it for free. Because internally he doesn't love himself. Look at somebody like Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy. Probably going to go very high in the draft. Already a millionaire. Face all over sports pages and magazines and talk shows all over the place, right? Travis Hunter. He picks this mediocre stripper to be his girlfriend. And then when they come for him, he defends himself because he's ashamed. It's because he never learned to love himself. He loves what he does. He's got a mission, good for him. And he's acting on that. He's acting on how people see him instead of him loving himself and radiating that out. That's the difference between him and Deion. Deion always loved himself. That's why it shows. Deion from a little boy loved himself and thought he was the center of the world. That's how you see the difference between Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter, even though the skills are comparable. What's the rule of any aviation? If you're on a plane, right? If something happens, put the mask on yourself first. You cannot help anybody else until you help yourself first. You cannot really love anybody else truly until you love yourself. Far too many black men use women, especially black women, to validate themselves, right? Master Yao said the same thing. At some point, we're going to have to train out of men the need to validate themselves or basically identify themselves and put their identity between a black woman's legs. Even though black women are perfectly happy for you to continue to do that. It gives them power, it gives them advantage, it gives them power over you because they can either do one of two things. They can give you sex or refuse to give you sex, or they can shame you into submission. That's how black men get shamed into submission. I was watching very masculine dudes on a podcast surrounded by a bunch of women, a bunch of black women, not even good-looking black women, mediocre black women. And they're screaming and hollering and shouting down the men. And the men were cowering because in their mind, they don't feel good about themselves unless a woman validates them, which is a lot of reasons why in this space we don't believe anything until it comes out of a black woman's mouth, because we use them to validate us, which is something I vehemently disagree with, something I've never done. I've never let a woman validate me. Now, a woman could prefer me or not prefer me. You know, nobody likes to be rejected. And I'm one of them. I don't like to be rejected, but the thing is, just because she didn't want me doesn't mean another woman won't. And her opinion of me is only in conjunction with me being with her or me getting to know her. It's not going to change how I feel about myself. It's not going to change the love that I have for myself. And I taught that to my kids. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. And I've met very famous people, very accomplished people, very rich people. It comes down to he's a human being like me. He's no better or worse than I am. But for the grace of God go I, and vice versa. I taught my kids that there's nobody better than you. There's no power greater than you. You love yourself, and you have to be confident in the things and the abilities that you hone to whatever degree. And you got to be good with that, and you have to love that about yourself. And I think black men, no matter what state, I don't care if you're 5'1" and you look like a gremlin, you're going to have to find a way to love yourself. And if you can love yourself and love yourself completely enough and validate yourself completely enough, that'll radiate out. Then you can come out and give something to somebody. Give something to somebody else. Man, I've seen little short guys, man. Little short, ugly guys. Just pick up women left and right because they love themselves completely and they were confident of themselves completely and confident in their abilities. They would walk up to anybody. They would walk up to Beyonce and ask her for a number. And if she rejected them, they would say, that's her misfortune. That's her bad. She missed out. And sometimes you got to feel that way. And black women have done a good job because black women really don't like themselves for the most part, believe it or not. It's like they put the makeup on and they put all the funny hair on, extensions and all that kind of crap and delude themselves. And then go back and eat and gain 40, 50 pounds. And they try to project that onto black men. But women, by and large, because they have to be networked, have to be validated from the outside. Men are the opposite. We don't have to be validated from the outside. We need to be validated from the inside. And far too long, we have stood in the feminine mode and wanted our partners, our females, to actually validate us. Our wives to actually validate us. Our children to validate us. We don't need their validation. Well, we give validation. We don't crave it. A man's validation is built on him testing himself against the elements. That's what the rites of passage was about. It wasn't about you getting validation from the females in your core. It's about getting validated by the environment that you live in and getting the respect of your fellow men. And somehow we've gotten away from that. Remember a long time ago, I did a video on Cynthia G. And she was talking about how she doesn't respect black men. I told her, F her respect. F her respect. And go kick rocks. We don't need your respect. If you don't want to give it, you need to bounce. We don't need your validation because we haven't conquered the United States. We don't need your validation. I'm not laying down my life because for your validation, are you kidding me? That has done nothing for me. Hell, we got women halfway across the world, man, in Gaza and in Ukraine. And Ukrainian men and Gaza men are getting their head handed to them. And head handed to them by a power that's more powerful than they are. Some Palestinian women will lay down their lives for that man. And they are. They probably kill more women and children than the actual men. But they're willing to lay down their lives for that man because those men are out there fighting. And there's respect, even though they may or may not win. They probably won't win. That's what we're looking for from our women. But since we can't, or we haven't, I think the problem is that we don't love ourselves enough. And I think that's what it starts, regardless of whether we choose them or get with them or be with them, whatever it is. That's, like I said, there's 4 billion coochies on the planet. You don't have to be with them. But the thing is, what you do have to do, what you do have to be, and you do have to have is love for yourself, because I don't care how many coochies there are out there. I don't care how much money you have. You don't love yourself, you don't love yourself. It's an inside job that doesn't need money. I've seen very poor men living in grass huts that love themselves and accepted who they are and embraced who they are. And I think that's what we need to do too. For 2025, I think that's what all black men and the whole black manosphere need to do. We need to sit down, a quiet place, and start learning how to love ourselves and respect ourselves and putting ourselves first. The hell with all that. The hell with the black community. The hell with black women. The hell with whatever else woman is on the outside. It's inside job. You gotta start with yourself first. Love yourself first. Because your woman would tell you, I'm not going to accept the bare minimum. She loved me that big for free. This chick said that. She loved me all that big for free? Yeah, it's supposed to be free. It's not supposed to be a price tag to love. It's a price tag to love, and it ain't love. If there's a price tag attached to it, then it's not love. It's called a transaction. And if you love a transaction, we can do that. But don't call it love. Don't pee on my head and tell me it's rain. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, I just, I put a clip of Rhyme in there talking about it. You have to love yourself first. He's 100% right. And for 2025, I think that should be the Black Manosphere's mantra. We're going to love ourselves first. And all the rest of that crap is second. So they can say it's all Jermaine's fault. They can call us dusty and broke and whatever else. And we're not keeping up with them. The heck with that. I don't care if we all working in a warehouse wearing work boots. In our mind and our hearts, we're better than you. We're better than you. Because I love myself. I respect myself. I put my mission and my purpose first, and you don't. You're looking for outside validation through TikTok and makeup and Instagram and your little paper that we call a degree. Anyhow, that's all I got for this one. Be just out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.